Seattle ranks 4th worst in the nation for total crime, nearly triple the national average. That doesn't sound good. I keep hearing from our mayor that, hey, crime is down. Everything's great. Everything's hunky-dory. What's the deal? Let's get into it. Here we go. We'll read the man article in a second, but here's a real-life update. Where is Seattle at on reducing violent crime and drug overdoses? City leaders give updates. All right, let's see what they have to say, because we know where we're coming from a statistical standpoint. Seattle 4th? Not good.
It's getting better or worse here in Seattle. That was the question at a city council meeting today as leaders asked for accountability on how the city is implementing recommendations from an audit to reduce shootings and overdoses. Couples Jeremy Harris live tonight outside City Hall with an update. And Jeremy, the city keeps saying homicides are decreasing this year?
Well, that's right, Preston. And the data shows homicides in Seattle are down by about 25%, non-fatal shootings down by almost 30%. But there's still some stubborn issues around drug use and homelessness. And today we heard from council leaders who say, while there is progress, they're still not satisfied.
So the numbers are down, but we're still 4th worst. And Washington State, in so many categories now, is the absolute worst. So I think what's important to know is that when you see these numbers coming down, it's because we've been coming off of some record highs.
It's been a violent few weeks in Seattle, with a murder outside a church and 2 people fatally shot in a homeless camp that neighbors complained about for weeks. I think that's the biggest frustration from those neighbors is they're saying, we feel like the city's not listening to us. What would you say to that?
I would say I share their frustration.
City Council President Sarah Nelson says it's clear many of Seattle's stubborn issues aren't going away despite signs of progress.
Violent crime is down, 27%. Car theft is down 30%.
In council, the city auditor gave an update on several recommendations made earlier this year to drive down gun crime and overdoses in the city. One highlight is the use of the ATF's NIBIN system, which has allowed SPD to reduce gun traces by 6 weeks.
These problems were years in the making, and we can't take our eye off the ball.
Auditor said hiring at SPD is up too, with the agency bringing on more officers than it's losing for the first time in years. But rebuilding the ranks will take time.
See how many stick, right? I mean, you bring all these cops in now, and so many of them bounce out. Now, when you talk about we've got a hiring class. Yeah, but let's give it a year and we'll see how many of those fall out, because so many of those aren't going to make it through the academy, let alone through their probationary period or whatever they have, and continue on. It's not like, I got a job as a cop now, greatest thing ever, like they used to. It used to be really difficult to get hired on at Seattle Police Department, believe it or not, right? That is how much this city has changed. Nobody wants to be a cop. And I don't blame them.
And in the meantime, we've talked to people in Seattle who are frustrated.
We call the police, and they've even told us, call us, but we probably won't show. But call us so we keep data. They want data. We're not interested in data. We're interested in results.
We're not just talking about numbers. We're not just talking about statistics. We're talking about more people dying, more people getting shot, more people getting addicted. And so let's not let that happen when we know what we could do better.
The other half of this audit was about overdoses and drug use. And while the data shows still there's a lot of people overdosing and dying here in King County, there is going to be a new overdose response center that will operate 24/7. So when somebody overdoses, they'll be taken off the streets, given those services, and have somewhere to go that's not the hospital. That is expected to open sometime soon here near City Hall. We'll have more on that later. Reporting live downtown, Jeremy Harris, Como News.
So like at the end of that segment, talking about, hey, if you've had an overdose, we're going to send you to a facility where you can chill out and, get that energy back up till you go out and get that next hit. Because clearly you're not going into treatment, but we're going to provide for you an interim housing. When you're on the streets and you almost died, we revived you. We're going to give you a place to, spend the night, whatever. And then you can get back out there, Tiger, and go for it. Get into it. Just get into those drugs. Because we're not really putting them in a position where, hey, you want some treatment? You want some help? You're offering it, but nobody's taking it up on that, because why would they? You've created an environment in Seattle where homeless drug addicts can steal from wherever, sell their stolen goods, get their money, live their lifestyle. And we just go, fourth worst in the country. That's weird. Crazy. But hey, the mayor says crime is down. Let's read the main story here. Federal FBI crime report for 2024 in August indicating total amounts of violent and petty crime within the United States. Based on the data, which calculated the best and worst cities, Seattle ranked in the top 5 worst cities in 2 of the 3 categories, including total crime, violent crime, and property crime. Good numbers. Study for total crime combined violent crimes such as murder, robbery, and assault, paired with, let's have a secondary grouping of, like you have on your dinner plate. Okay, we're going to have this. Going to be paired with this wine. Well, we're going to be paired with shenanigans of burglary, theft, and motor vehicle theft. Seattle is ranked 4th out of the 30 largest for total crime. Seattle's total crime numbers in comparison to the national average, 173% higher. A massive elevation against the national average. Portland is also second worst city for total crime in America. Second worst. Portland, Seattle. All right. Portland's total crime numbers were also 194.8% higher than the national average. Seattle is only 173% higher. Portland, 109, almost 200% higher than the rest of the country. Those are not good numbers at all. The report goes on to say Seattle ranked 3rd worst on the list with a property crime rate of 185% higher than the national property crime average. I mean, these are some elevated numbers. Portland, slightly worse for property crime with number 2 ranking, 1 spot ahead of Seattle. Portland, 214% higher than the national property crime average. Similar to the total crime rankings, Memphis, Tennessee was listed as the worst U.S. city for property crime, 292% above the national average. So you've got Seattle, you got Portland, you got Memphis being categorized, in the top 4 for a bunch of categories. So when people say, Pacific Northwest, or I always say West Coast, Best Coast, and I'm saying that facetiously. I'm saying that because we got a lot of shenanigans going on here. So here's one of those things that people always kind of correlate is recent data from Oxford Economics revealed that Seattle's expected to see a huge loss of tourism from Canada. Seattle's predicted to see a 20%, 7% fall in overnight international visitors expected in 2025. That's the biggest drop aside from Portland, Oregon. Then you move on to a story like this, and this literally just came out. Downtown Seattle hotels break record with $126 million revenue in July. People just don't care. They're like, Seattle's pretty. Let's just go there. Great. Greatest thing ever. And I report on the shenanigans, and you know what all the tourists go? Big city crime. We don't really care. And that's literally what they've said with their pocketbooks. Much of the boost for the new record-breaking month, July 2025, came from the Seattle Convention Center, of all places. Venue saw its highest monthly total of group bookings in 14 years. So all this talk about, I'm never holding a convention there, doesn't really seem to be working out in reality because people love a big, progressive, liberal city with a lot of physical geography that meets their criteria. And they're willing to walk past the homeless dudes downtown. They're willing to walk past the needles. They're willing to walk past the open air market goods because that's literally what you've got. So occupancy rate was 89.2% on average. This is July. Average hotel room was $301 per night. And you had, here's what you had. Seattle just loaded it up. So you had USA Rubik's Cube World Championship, 4 Seattle Storm games, 13 Seattle Mariner games, and a plethora of concerts featuring Barry Manilow, Incubus, Katy Perry, Death Cab for Cutie, My Chemical Romance, and Morgan Wallen. So Seattle does an amazing job of bringing all these people in to an area that has some of the worst crime in the nation. You're like, that's weird, right? No, it's tourism wants what it wants. And it basically just, boop, yep, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So we got John Curley on dropping crime rates in Seattle. That is what our leadership has been telling us. Everything's great. It's all okay. Crime rates down. Then you've got, Seattle fourth worst in the country. And we've read through all those stats. So John Curley is stating it's down from a record high. Elevated numbers coming down. Yes, but, and it's everything after but that is there. Yes, they are dropping. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. No. Seattle lands in top 5 for crime rates. City leaders say 2025 is turning the tide. We're turning the tide. We're going in a different direction. We've got a lot of work to be done, but it's happening. And you're left with, but you got all these categories where we're number one, where you don't want to be number one, right? Don't want to be. Yeah, we just read that one. As Trump moves to deploy National Guard in D.C., is Seattle next? I could see that. I think we go into Chicago first. I think Chicago will be next. Seattle and Portland. Yeah, but more kind of secondary markets. We're smaller markets. And it's because you've got this whole narrative of what's going on with criminal activity in Seattle. I think pound for pound, Seattle has some of the best crime stories in the nation. Hands down. Some of the stuff that we are seeing here in Seattle is so driven by straight up drugs and a drug culture that we have here. That whole grunge scene that we had, you had Mother Love Bone, you had Soundgarden, you had Pearl Jam, you had Alice in Chains, Nirvana, just keep going. That was all based on drugs, right? How many of those lead singers died from drug overdoses? This is all drugs. It wasn't grunge. It's real grungy because everybody's doing drugs. And that that culture is here. It's in Seattle, and it has manifested itself in the homeless culture, the way that we approach homelessness, which is, just let everybody live wherever they want. That's a big liberal city, right? And then now we've built that infrastructure and people are here. So, deploy National Guard in D.C. Is Seattle next? Well, I hope so, because that'd be great. That'd be great. And then on top of that, we've got Washington State has the worst police shortage in America. So you've got that, led by yours truly. And then, am I wearing the same shirt? Yeah, same shirt. I love this shirt. It's a Mizzen in Maine. Great shirt. Worst police shortage in America. But then you've got the mayor going, oh, no, things are getting better. I mean, things are looking up. We're hiring a lot. You're hiring some. Will they stick it out? Don't know. And you're already literally 500, 600, 700 cops short of where you need to be from an FBI numbers relative to number of police per, 100,000 population. Seattle is so far down. And that's why literally you can call the police in Seattle and they might come, but then again, they might not, right? Because we don't have enough cops. Portland, same thing. And so those cities on top of just the criminal numbers going on, it's some wild stuff. So don't believe all the statistics that you see. And on the negative side as well, kind of look into it and go, what is going on? Because I know so many of you want to believe, well, if they have high crime rates, tourism is just absolutely toasted. It certainly is impacted, but maybe not to the extent that you think. Now, Portland is a different animal. And it has been impacted worse because it went further down and Portland engaged in what could go wrong when we decriminalize all hard drugs. Oh, good Lord, look at those numbers. And then they've had to reel it back in, right? And go, oh, yeah. That whole social experiment with the drugs thing, that was terrible. Good Lord, who saw that coming? All of us saw that coming. And so they're in even a further hole in Portland than Seattle is. Seattle's got more tourism. Seattle has just straight up got more tourism. We have got boats from the downtown piers that this is Alaska cruise season. Got a whole bunch of millions of people coming into Seattle for all kinds of crazy stuff. And here I am, reading these crime stories, and nobody seems to blink, and they're just like, it's Seattle. It's fine. It'll be great. It'll be great. Can't be worse than LA, can it? And I'm like, yeah, it can. And it is. But you don't seem to mind. So we're just going to run with it. In the meantime, I've got podcasts for days, weeks, months, years, and into decades, because our leadership isn't going to do anything different. And we're just going to have this stuff keep on going till it doesn't. And yeah, it's what we're doing. All right. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit the like button, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.